Well, hello, good evening, and welcome to the Caithness Amateur Dram Antique Society tasting uh, on St Andrew's Night 2024. And as it's St Andrew's Night, I thought we'd do a tasting of Scotch whisky, the Diageo Special Releases 2024. I've got five of them here. The Roseisle, the Oban, the Caol Ila, the Talisker, and the Lagavulin. So Diageo is a British multinational alcoholic beverage company with its headquarters in London, England. It operates from 132 sites around the world, and it's a major distributor of Scotch whisky and other spirits. Distilleries owned by Diageo produce 40% of all Scotch whisky, with over 24 brands such as Johnnie Walker, J&B, and Old Parr. They own 30 Scotch malt distilleries and two Scotch grain distilleries. Its leading brands outside whisky include Guinness, Smirnoff, Bailey's Liqueur, Captain Morgan Rum, and Tanqueray and Gordon's Gin. So first up tonight, we're going to try the Roseisle 12-year-old bottled at 55.6%. These special releases all have a little poetic name or nickname, and that features on the bottle. And this one is Origami Kite 2. Roseisle Distillery is located in Speyside. It's about 2 miles from the village of Birkhead. Roseisle is a lovely forest, and there's a lovely beach there, just running really from Fochabers to Birkhead. It began its operations in 2010, and it covers a pretty big area of 3,000 square meters, and it's the largest ever distillery constructed, and was established with a £40 million investment. It runs with 7 pairs of stills, 6 of them having the capability to switch between stainless steel and traditional copper shell and tube condensers. It follows a minimum fermentation time of 75 hours and can produce varied spirit styles by adjusting the fermentation duration, the distillation pace, and the choice of condenser. The malt used for production is non-peated, and it's primarily sourced in-house. It uses 2 Lotter mash tuns and steam as its heat source, with water supplied from a borehole. Its production capacity stands at 10 million litres annually, which is less than that of Glenfiddich, for example. Uh, Diageo initiated Roseisle as part of its £1 billion investment plan to amplify capacity across its properties. So this is the second ever bottle of whisky to be released from Roseisle Distillery. The last one was in the special releases of last year. And like the inaugural expression, it was bottled for the special releases, and this one was matured in first fill bourbon and refill casks and bottled at 55.6%. So let's see what we have here. It's a pale copper colour. Being at such a high ABV, none of these, unlike most Diageo whisky releases, these won't be chill filtered. I don't know anything about colouring. I would doubt it. It's got nice tears in it, this one. And it's certainly a bourbon cask, this one. You get the custard cream biscuits. the kirsch, this pear skins, fresh peaches, and there's a light maple note to it as well. It's not peppery spice, but it's got a sort of spirity nose, and it's a touch spicy with the spirity level of 55.6. It's mellow, and it's got a sort of lemon scented note to the icing sugar, with stewed apples, and with some caramel. You do get the bourbon notes of vanilla, but then there's some lighter notes and a light floral nose. It's simple, but it's very pleasant. We'll try them out. And it's quite fizzy. Pear brandy, almond, and then some of the waffles, quite rich. It's got honeycomb and toffee and a bit of fudge as well. There's a lot of fruit initially, but that disappears quickly and it moves into spice, cinnamon, dry oak, and sort of lemon pepper seasoning. It's quite bold and there's a lot of flavour. There's some texture to the mouthfeel, but it's not too creamy. And I would like more creaminess. And you do get the warmth of the alcohol, but it's not overpowering. And the finish is quite long. It's just tad drying, but it's not too bad. Get ginger, fennel seed, cinnamon, oak, but you still get the fruitiness and the creamy side as before. I'm going to try 5 drops of water in this. I'm not really seeing anything in the terms of Scotch mist there. And it becomes a bit more grassy. And there's more pear there as well. More oaky. And now there's cinnamon and a bit of freshly grated nutmeg. And it becomes a bit more funky and musty with water. I don't think the nose benefits too much from water. Kind of well. And again, you get the fresh, sweeter notes, but it moves quickly into more toasted oak, warm caramel, and honey. Some of the spiciness on the finish is mellowed, but I'm finding more bitterness there. I'd probably skip adding water to this dram. It's quite pleasant. It's not particularly groundbreaking, but I'd happily sit with it and sip it as a session dram. It's quite fresh, and it would be a good summer sipper. And for only a second ever release from Roseisle Distillery, it's a nice showing of it. And it'd be interesting to see what else the distillery can do. I don't really get a feel for what the defining characteristic of Roseisle is, but hopefully we'll find that out in due course. I'm going to cleanse my palate with the so that was a Nairn's organic oat cake. So next up, we have the Oban 10-year-old, bottled at 58%, and the nickname on the bottle is Coastal Orchard. So this one was matured in refill casks before a finish in charred American oak barrels that had been seasoned with Oloroso sherry. Now, sherry casks are normally toasted instead of charred, and they're usually larger than a standard barrel. This makes it quite uncommon for this one. But you do wonder about the increased wood influence, what effect that might have on this Oban. So this one's 10-year-old, and again it's a sort of pale copper colour. And it has nice tears, very nice tears. It's quite light, and it's got something between pine needles and white flowers. There's some green apple with some grassy notes and lemon, and a salty sea air comes out. So the coastal orchard and a light hint of mustard, English mustard. Salt, honey, quite floral with menthol and acetone. It's more complex than the Roseisle was. I'm getting just a touch of smoking just in the back, and the cream is there as well. Green oak spice, nutmeg and pepper. Quite sharp as well. We'll try them out. It's got a lovely layering of sweet fruit, tart apples, stewed peaches and sultanas. But then you get quite a pungent spiciness, ginger, white pepper, and some salty notes again. There's a sort of peppermint note and almost a rye element to this whiskey. get some floral notes, citrus, salt, spiciness, oranges. But it's well connected and very balanced. And the spiciness is just a hint of spiciness. And there's caramel there too. A hint of salted caramel and walnuts. But it's less sherry than I would have thought from the cask makeup. And the finish is sort of medium length with more oak spice and a bit of peppery heat and citrus, uh, wood smoke, sherry, pepperiness, red chilies. I'll try 4 drops of water in this. And now the pine needles come right to the fore. It's quite sweet with honey, fruity baked apples, sultanas and raisins, mango, and chocolate covered cherries. Nuttiness, walnuts, and roasted oak. Try the mouth. It's sweet, honeyed, dark chocolate with dried fruit, cherry syrup, cherries with licorice, black licorice, and a bit of herbs, dandelion cough syrup, pepperiness, and oakiness. And the finish is medium length, quite sweet, with a hint of heather honey, dark chocolate, dried cherries, and raisins. And it's quite warming. There's a nice coastal hint to this whiskey, which mix well with the floral notes, but there's not much depth to this whiskey. It makes it a bit rough and immature, and I think the charred wood effect had a bigger impact on the whiskey than the Oloroso sherry did. Right, we'll cleanse our palates again. Well, much as Bob Dylan thinks Key West is the place to be, under the ocean, under the sea, uh, I'm a big soft spot for Caol Ila. And this 11-year-old, bottled at 57.5%, has the poetic title Ambrosial Feast. And this one has quite an eclectic cask distribution, including refill casks, rejuvenated casks, and rejuvenated ex-wine casks in both American and European oak. Whereas Roseisle is experimenting with its distillation and fermentation processes with the special releases, with more permanent distilleries or more established distilleries rather, are Diageo just doing things with the special releases without much thought to what the final product would be? The label also mentions short fermentation and cloudy wort and distillation in partially filled stills. This is an unpeated Caol Ila. So one of my favourite distilleries and whiskies. Let's see. I've tasted it both peated and unpeated, and I love it. But let's see. Again, fairly pale colour there. 57.5%. I've tasted lots of single cask whiskies. These poetic names are sort of reminiscent of the Scottish Malt Whisky Society with its rather poetic names for its output. I've had some from Caol Ila, that was a Caol Ila, two funnels and a smoking, two chimneys and a smoking funnel or something. That was Glen Scotia, but I've had a hard hat dram from the Scottish Malt Whisky Society, which was a Caol Ila, and I've had Party Warmer, again another Caol Ila. Mostly quite young. I've tasted Caol Ila up to 30 years old, and I do think it's a fantastic whiskey. Let's see what happens with this one though. Nice tears in it. And immediately blind, I would never get this as Caol Ila. Even unpeated Caol Ila. It's quite shy. It's quite malty. There's nuttiness, walnuts, peanuts, and some wood dust. The wine doesn't leave a big mark on the nose so far. You're getting buttery cookies, pancakes, Scotch pancakes, St Andrew's night, with light vanilla. There's a little bit of pepper and a sort of dried grassy note. But the wine cask, it's not too vinous, this one. And it's very gentle. There's touches of raspberry, a sliver of butter and peanuts. And there's touches of vanilla pastry too, and some almonds. There's a few mineral touches as well. But, I would struggle to get this as an Islay, never mind a Caol Ila on a blind nosing. Yeah, I'm not getting the coastal at all. Let's see what the mouth is like. I kind of get what they're getting with the Roseisle feast. This is full of hazelnuts, toasted almonds, and caramelized walnuts, and toffee, nutmeg, and clove. It's quite a lot of latte, flat white coffee, and milk chocolate. In the distance, there's a lemony note, but it's certainly not a fruity whiskey. Then pepper, and there is like a whiskey fudge, and it's a little bitter, but not bad. And chocolate with marzipan. I don't know if your mother ever made Scottish tablet, but it's got that element to it. There's a slight bitterness, but it's not overtly vinous. This wine with some barley husks, but it's a walnuts and almonds and that stand out. And peanut skins. It it is useful. Useful. It's rather immature, perhaps. And there are oak spices and slightly bitter coffee notes. There's not much coastal about it, but actually, it's growing on me. And the finish is medium length with baking spices, coffee and wine tannins, dark chocolate espresso, lime, and some various fruitiness there as well. I'm gonna try 4 drops of water in this. And I do get Scotch mist on this one. And now the wine cask influence shows up with wild berries, currants, strawberries, gooseberries, and cranberries. And it's still got that mineral and slightly sulphurous tone. But then you get the pastry and the white fruit, cooked pear, ripe yellow plums, pastry, custard, and again the nuttiness, walnuts, almonds, and there's this mouldiness. We'll try the mouth. And it's got a pleasant creaminess. And it's crisp with spicy tones of cloves. Paprika and black pepper. All embraced by the acid, sweet dichotomy of the nose with even more stuff going on. There's an interplay of red, yellow, and tropical fruits, which are lovely integration on a soft, warm heart of apple pie, marzipan chocolate, coffee caramel, candied citron, and lots of nuts. Well, the finish is still quite long. It has veins of mineral notes going through it with nuts, coffee, baked cream, panna cotta, and sort of red fruit jam. Now, I've read reviews of this one, and it is, I would never get this as Caol Ila blind. It's nutty. It's got a little dipping in wine. It's not overly complex, but it has none of the expected markers of a Caol Ila. And I don't know. The review said the wine wiped out all the character of Caol Ila, but I don't know. I think this is actually a very pleasant Caol Ila. Different, unexpected, and why not? So this one, I think, for me, isn't as bad as some of the reviews are suggesting. But there you go. Right, I'm going to wipe my palate with another Nairn's Organic OK. So this next one is a Talisker, 8-year-old, 58.7%, and this one is called Tidal Churn. And close by to me, there's an area at Thurso East, which is considered one of the best surfing spots in Europe for surfing, and they've had the European Championships held here, just about a mile and a half from where I'm sitting. And a tidal churn, I think, if you're a surfer, it's perhaps maybe a little bit less than a rip tide, but certainly after a storm, you'll notice the ocean or the sea, even when it's flat calm, there's no wind. For 4 or 5 days, the sea is still very rough, and that's tidal churn. It takes a while for the water to settle down. So for the 8-year-old tidal churn, and I guess this is why they've called it tidal churn, they've used stone spun and lightly re-toasted casks. Now what is that? Well, what happened is the original char layers were polished away by rocks and water. I think what happens is wet stones go inside and the cask is rotated, which creates gentle erosion. And afterwards, they re-toast the cask to bring out fresh vanilla and fruit flavours. It's Talisker, the Marmite whiskey. I think it's okay once in a while. Don't get a lot of indie bottlings. Nice tears in this one. It's a quite pale colour. Let's see where we go with this. And this one is quite coastal, with hints of sea breeze, wet rocks, and there's echoes of iodine or seaweed in the background. And then you get the lemons and the unripe pears. And then you get the vanilla cake. You only get the light peat, but of course Talisker is only lightly peated. And that's quickly overtaken by the oak. But it is quite hot and it's quite peppery. I'm getting the alcohol on the nose on this one. Would I get this blind as a Talisker? I'm not getting a little salt in this one. Let's see in the mouth. And you get the peat now. There's a nice peppery one. Still some alcohol heat. And now I'm getting the saline elements, the oysters and the smoked lemons. It's got a nice creamy mouth here. And there's nice creamy sweetness. Apples. And then you go back to the mineral and the ashy notes. And the finish is quite low with a peppery and a minty freshness. It's quite sweet with a slightly bitter aftertaste. Honeydew apples, pepper, and you get that sort of oakiness scratching at the back of your palate. And a mild green leafiness in the end. I'm going to try 4 drops of water in this. And again, we're getting a nice haze forming there. As you often find with coastal whiskies, when you add water, the saltiness comes to the fore. But I'm getting cooking apples, warm bread, freshly cut Granny Smiths, apple cider vinegar, and rock pools, and pebbles on a freshly dried pebbles on a white sandy beach. And a quite crisp white wine, maybe a Chablis. And you do get vanilla now. It's like sniffing the inside of a snowball, these big fluffy cakes. Or a sort of white battery stuff inside a tonics tea cake. We're trying them out. And you get the vanilla essence, a sort of sticky toffee sauce caramel and baked apples, salty baked apples. Eucalyptus, white pepper, and there is that Talisker catch there. It's light, but it's there. I think I'd be getting close to this, the Talisker in a blind tasting. And a wee fruity, sweet, almost tropical note appears. A bit pineapple-y. It's nice with a drop of water, this. And it's got a medium lead finish of black pepper, brine, burnt wood, mineral, and slightly minty notes. Again, I do feel slightly at odds with many of the reviews I've read of this. It's not There is some weird cask gone into this, and it doesn't give it quite a unique fingerprint. But you know, if you're having special releases, then maybe you do have to mix it up a bit. I wouldn't say it's worth the money, but I would say if you get offered it, a dram of it, don't turn your nose up at it. It's not uniquely Talisker, and it's not perhaps as Taliskerish as many Talisker fans would like, but it's still different, and it's worth seeking out, I think, if you could get it for a decent price. So we'll cleanse our palates again. So, last one I'm going to review tonight on St Andrew's night before I go off to a Caol is the Lagavulin 12-year-old bottled at 57.4% Fireside Tales. I've tasted a couple of the Diageo Special Releases of Lagavulin, and well, let's see how this compares. This one's called Fireside Tales. I've had a Scottish Malt Whisky Society Highland Park, which was about 18 or 19 years old, and it was called Peat Fire Tales on Orkney. So this one's called Fireside Tales. Let's see what happens with this one. So this was matured in Percival bourbon oak casks and refilled casks before being bottled at 57.4% ABV. And this is probably the lightest coloured whiskey of the night. And there's some nice tears on this one. And you get sea salt. It's like walking on the beach past rock pools. Brackish water, some lightly cured bacon, and old tyres. Not burning tyres, but old tyres. It's quite subdued for a legal. And you get sour apple, citrus, and some complex smoky aromas. You get sootiness, like an old brick fireplace. Wood ash, phenols. And it's like walking past a spent campfire on the beach. There's seaweed and oysters, some tobacco, and only a very slight medicinal note. And there's some apples being roasted on a bonfire. green olives, maybe even a little tuna in bright. And there's a creamy butteriness here as well. Slightly over buttered, slightly over melted butter that's turned slightly bitter. But the peat is there, but it's lighter than I would have anticipated. I'll try them out. Now the peat shows up. Lots of peat. Soot, an ash, some coal, some tar. And there's only a hint of iodine though. There's shell, limestone, and oysters. Citrus fruits. And apples, maple syrup. Ready salted crisps. There's a bit of fishiness, maybe lobster bisque, and there's some salted seawater. It's very good on the mouth, very luscious, and there's a heavy alcohol burn. And the finish is nice. It's quite long. Get peat, sea salt, pepper, scallops with a squeeze of lemon. I'm going to try 5 drops of water in this. And again, I get the haze forming there. And now I get roasted peanuts, salted roasted peanuts. And there's some ashy smoke here. But it's not medicinal, it is more like cigarettes. And you get sweet buttercream in the background. But I think with water, the smoke comes out more. And it is a cigarette smoke rather than medicinal smoke. And on the mouth, smoke. It's slightly more bitter, oaky, and smoky. And there's some nuttiness there with some fresh baked fish and peanut butter with sugar. And the finish is sweet and sour with grated lemon peel, orange rind. It's warming with the aftertaste of young oak bark and birch sap. It's smoky all the way through, but it's not particularly TCP smoke or medicinal. I think Lagavulin fans will like this, as it shows the distillery character well. And for me, it strikes the perfect balance between peat and fruit, with lovely notes of vanilla adding to its complexity. It's rich, sweet, and offers just the right amount of peat. So I went in to the St Andrews like Diageo Special Releases tasting with mixed feelings. Uh, I do find some of the Diageo distillery core releases to be a bit bland, shall we say, and I think the problem with the special releases is they're too expensive for what they are, and although a couple of them I would say they were tonight, the Caol Ila was different, and I may get someone close to me a bottle of it for Christmas. And the Lagavulin was different. That someone close to me would never get it in a blind tasting, I don't think, because it's different enough from the DNA of Lagavulin. But I think what I would suggest to anyone about these special releases is I'd shop around and seek out some single cask indie bottlings from these distilleries before I'd consider buying any for myself. Thank you for watching and thanks for listening.